let's start the show. Let's get the show rolling, and then moving over here to make sure it is up and running, because if it's not running, it won't be much good to me. Come on, get an audience. Alright, yeah, there we go. It should be coming out now. Should actually see an update. And what do we got? Yes, it's showing that. We'll need a pop-out window, pop out the chat, minimize down. Fantastic. Make sure it is showing up on the feed. Make sure it's showing up on my phone. Because if it shows up on my phone, then I know it's there. It is there. Good. It's working. So make sure I can keep a track of the chat, because we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we are going to actually crack into, I'm hoping that I should be able to keep a track of the chat as I'm going. So I'm going to just update this. And yes, I'm going to do it live. How's it going, Nathaniel and Lego? Hello there again. Yep. What's the time? It is 4:30 p.m. I'm going to just pull out my earplugs because the sound's coming through. Right, so that's gone. Eric, yes, live. A little bit late today. I was doing some stuff, and I thought I would jump on and do a review of this particular adventure because I said I would, and I've been promising to do it for ages. So now is the time to do it. I'm just making sure my phone has got the chat coming through, because it's the only way I'm going to be able to track it is off my phone, and I don't really want to. Not currently recognizing this video format. Well, it's not very helpful. Anyway, yeah, YouTube Inception. It is going to disappear, and you will see a better screen in a second. Just bear with me. I am just trying to make sure that this is working properly. For some strange reason, it's not showing up the way I want. So usually I can see the chat when I'm running this. And, there we go, live chat. There's the chat window. Just letting it update, and then we'll get cracking. You're in Brazil, Ego, and it's 1:30 a.m. Oh my gosh, mate. Seriously? That is just crazy. Okay, well look, there's 7 people in the room, and I think what I should do is show you what I'm going to talk about today, rather than keep you on my control panel. We are going to pull up this window. This is the window that we'll be looking at and talking about in a few minutes. And there we go. I've got my chat window up and running, which is awesome. Hopefully it will keep updating. So let's get cracking. Also, just quickly before I forget, tomorrow, New Zealand Standard Time, that's Saturday in New Zealand, I'm going to be doing a live stream D&D 5e workshop. So live stream D&D 5e workshop, and it's a questions and answers live stream. I did one a little while back. I've been asked to do another one, so I'm going to do that. It's at 1 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. That's Saturday for me, but it's probably a different day for somebody else. It's probably going to be like a Friday for you. I don't know. It depends on where you are in the world. So check the world time zone map and see when it's going to be running for you. So let's get cracking and get straight into this. Lewis, it's 3:30. Should have been asleep a long time ago. Well, let's go into this adventure, and then you guys can go to sleep. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I am talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5e, and we're going to have a look at the Tyranny of Dragons storyline, and we're going to talk about and review the Frozen Castle. Now, this is an expansion for the Rise of Tiamat for 10th level to 11th level characters, and it's written by Alexander Winter. It is available on the Dungeon Masters Guild, and I have provided all the information so you can go and check it out down in the description to this video. It's published by Kobold Press. It's been out for quite a while. They released it after the release of Horde of the Dragon Queen, so this adventure takes place after the Horde of the Dragon Queen, but before the Rise of Tiamat. And essentially it is the chapter that was pulled out of the Rise of Tiamat because they felt like there were too many pages in this adventure, And I found this adventure quite a lot of fun. I know my players enjoyed it, and I wanted to do a review and talk about it, and that's what I'm going to do today. So the very first thing, I'm going to make sure I just scroll down here so that you can see the next page. So it gives you basically the credits and so forth, and yes, I'm going to show you all the pages. If I get into trouble, then hopefully they will understand that I am at least promoting their product. So the very first thing about Skyreach Castle and Horde of the Dragon Queen is whether they do something silly and the castle crashes because they decided to take out the cloud giant Blogithcus, I think it's this his name, Blogithcus. He's basically the owner of Skyreach Castle. Whether they take him out or he decides to crash the castle or take it back to the Milkus Glacier. This is north. This is the spine of the world, which is quite a long way from the Grey Peaks. So I don't get confused. Why is it so far away from where it was initially when you were running Skyreach Castle in Horde of the Dragon Queen? It's because it was taken back to the spine of the world and crashed into Milkus Glacier. Either it's going to crash there because that's where the ghost of the cloud giant takes it, or it might take it there simply because it feels like it needs allies and their allies are in the north. It's not really about an error in the construction of the adventure. This is actually deliberately done this way. And as I said, you're supposed to be starting at roughly about 10th level. I found that level 10 characters could deal with most of this stuff reasonably well. If you're a little bit higher, it might be a bit tricky. If you're a bit lower than that, it might be a bit harder than you might want your players to have to deal with. It's really, I think it is tailored more for 9th, 10th level characters. And most of the stuff isn't necessarily about combat. There is a lot of role play in this adventure. So they're going to try to develop some allies in this adventure. So whether the cloud giant is alive or dead does not matter. They are going to have to pick up some allies, and also too they have to get there. Now if they were on the castle when it crashed, then I would say those characters are probably passed away, gone to a better place. If they weren't on the castle when it crashed or flew away, then they're going to have to travel there. And there's some instructions about how to get to the Milkus Glacier, or Milkus Glacier. And getting across the ice to the actual castle itself is quite difficult. They can only travel about 15 miles per day. There is a whole lot of constitution checks that need to be made to survive the cold. They could use magic to help protect them from the cold, or wearing decent clothing will help to a certain degree, but it won't be enough simply because it is so cold in this particular adventure. There is a whole lot of random encounters that you can run in the section. One at day, one at night. You can roll them. You could just pick them if you wanted, and it gives you a quick breakdown about the adventure locations. What I like about this is it's designed to be a sandbox, so you can go pretty much anywhere. And the first location that they're going to have to deal with is getting across the glacier and the ice. And my players, I think they constructed like a sled and a sail, and they tried to use Lehman's tiny hut on top of the sled, but that doesn't work that way. But you could use Lehman's tiny hut on the glacier to protect you from the cold as they're traveling across. So the Broken Tusk is the first location, and the Broken Tusk is a village of orcs. These particular orcs are under the foot of the frost giants in this location, and the entire population fluctuates from about 200 to 700 or more orcs, and it's because the giants play the orcs off against the dwarves who live in this location, which is really, really gnarly. I found that quite a lot of fun. The chieftain, the Broken Tusk chieftain, is Grunar Bloodhandle, and he's going to play a major part at some point. Now, your players could go and seek their assistance when they're playing this adventure to try and man Skyreach Castle. The thing is, you can't just have the party trying to man Skyreach Castle, simply because it is so complicated and there's so much going on. You actually need a decent sized crew to manage it. Also, you need to have control of it. Now, if the Cloud Giant is still alive, then you're going to not be able to control that, that castle, because his partner controls that castle. She passed away some time ago, and the ghost of that particular giant resides in there. If they take out Blurgist, if they take him out, then his spirit will reside within the castle, and then really they're going to have a lot of work ahead of them. No matter what they do, their job is to get to this location, secure Skyreach Castle. What they will find out is that it is broken and requires repair. There's a whole lot of different repairs, but we'll go over them fairly shortly, and get it back in the air and flying around. So as you can see, there's a map. You can actually download this map for almost nothing. I think I got a bigger sized version of a map that I'm showing you right now. So, and it takes out anything that might sort of suggest like markers. So some of the markers can be taken off as well. So breaks it down. So Milkos is section 2, and that particular area is where the clan of the dwarves are mining. It's a stronghold, an outpost that they hang out at, and they are constantly having to deal with frost giants, but mostly the orcs in that area. You can try to get the players, or the players can try and use the dwarves to help man Skyreach Castle, which has crashed. You'll notice down the bottom there's a picture of a crashed castle that's sort of sitting on a slab of rock. So another opportunity for role play, not necessarily a situation where you'll be dealing with a lot of combat. If they start dealing with the orcs in section 1, it is entirely possible that the orcs will attack them. So yes, lots of fun to be had. Alright, section 3 is Aldolvid. Okay, Aldolvid, I think I've pronounced it right, I'm not entirely sure. This is a mead hall. This is where Brunvild, the powerful frost giant, the chieftain for this location, is actually living, and he has a bunch of different minions, orcs, ogres, giants, stuff like that, who you can try to negotiate with, and they will have to go here at some point to negotiate with him. Depending on the situation, they may get assistance, which is always great, and they're going to have to try and convince the giants. This is the main aspect of this entire adventure, is trying to convince the giants that they should help them restore the castle and get it back in the air, and assist with the fight against Tarman. Dealing with the Cult of the Dragon is really important, and they actually got a whole section around how to deal with that, and I'm going to bring you to that fairly shortly. They give you a breakdown about how to play Brunvild. Brunvild is not a nice individual, and you can be guaranteed that you should make it quite difficult for the players when running this section. I'm going to just skip over to the next page, which deals with a dragon. Once this loads up and shifts over, I apologize if it's not keeping up. Sometimes my Adobe PDF reader doesn't work quite as fast as I would like. So Glazhail's Retreat. This is a white dragon who circles this area, protects that location. Now, you could have a battle with the dragon if you wanted to. The players are probably high enough level they could manage that. But really it's more there to throw a bit of a fear factor into the players and make sure that they move across the ice and the glacier fairly quickly and keep a lookout. Also to ensure that they don't sort of just make themselves easily accessible from the air. So they do actually have to try and find some cover or somewhere where they can hold up. And they can only really do that by going and exploring and talking to some of the people in that location. Next is called Promondry Peak. Promondry Peak has a werebear called Dalo who lives here. He's quite lonely. He lives in the lonely mountains. He's shunned by most visitors, and yet another opportunity for role play. This particular individual is part of the Emerald Enclave, and so if you've got somebody in your party who's part of the Emerald Enclave, then there's a chance to build a connection there. He's not the sort of character who's just going to go and attack them, but he's also not there to hand everything to them. He can provide a lot of information about the glacier if people ask, and there's also a chance, provided you have somebody in there who's willing to negotiate a little bit, he's prepared to let them hold up in his cave while they, move around, rest up. They will need to take short and long rests through this adventure. It can't be done in one sitting, it would be too difficult. Section 6 is the Yeti colonies, and over here we have basically a colony of Yetis who are divided into small families, and yet another roleplay opportunity. You could impose or bring in a combat if you liked, but I don't think it was really set up for that. A lot of the sections, as you can see, really just give you very brief strokes. You have to build in a lot yourself. Promontory, thank you, Eric. Now, there is a wizard who resides with the Yeti colony called Alec, and Alec is a 9th level chaotic good wizard, and certainly an individual who may be able to assist them, and certainly present him as an ally, somebody who will assist. He's been studying the Yetis for some time, and therefore he will know quite a bit about the Yeti colony and he's the go-between. If they have trouble communicating with the Yetis, then Alec is that go-between to allow them to actually communicate with the Yeti colony. Getting a helping hand. I'm not going to go over getting a helping hand too much, but basically if the original cloud giant who was part of the castle, who dominated the castle, Blurgist, if he's gone, you've got another ally here called Ormus. Ormus is a chaotic good storm giant, and his role is simply to fill in that role if the players need help and aid dealing with the frost giants, and they probably will. So there's a few instructions on how to deal with that, and as I said, all of this is very much tied in. It's built more around role play than combat. There is a little bit of combat, and the final climactic scenes will certainly have a lot of that. There's a section where the Remor has mating grounds are located. This is definitely an opportunity to try to take one of the eggs, but also it's certainly set up to be a combat, and it's built primarily around mating monsters, basically. Remor has, who can be found lurking below the surface of the snow. Very easy to run, not very difficult to figure out. You should have no problems with this section whatsoever. Section 8, which is just called the Elemental Vents. This is a location that allows for different elementals to come up through the vents. So fire elementals, you could even use water. Obviously an ice elemental or something like that would be perfectly sensible to have in that location. I think when I was doing that section of the adventure, I allowed for mostly water and frost. I didn't really go with the fire elemental. It felt like it was too far away from the environment that they were going to be living in. So I didn't encourage that when I was building it up. I made sure I went with water and frost. Next section is section 9. This is the Fallen Castle. This is Skyreach Castle. This is where it's crashed for whatever reason. There's a massive crater here. It certainly caused a lot of damage to the glacier itself. There's splintered ice, and it gives you a whole lot of information about Blurgist and his survival, whether he survived or not, how to deal with that, and then repairing the castle. Now, there are quite a few things they need to do to actually get Skyreach Castle back in the air again in terms of repair and actually manning it. And that is, they have to dig it out, which is quite a complex and long process. They have to learn how to control the castle if they are going to be able to do that. And there's a whole section on actually how to control the castle, which is awesome. Can you imagine what your players are going to be like when they find out that they can actually control Skyreach Castle and use its defensive mechanisms or offensive mechanisms? They're going to have a great lot of fun. I found it was one of the best parts of running the Rise of Tiamat was the fact that they had control of the castle and can utilize it as a flying fortress. You can also just make it be part of the allies they bring back into their Well of Dragons final battle. So when you're building your final conclusion to the Rise of Tiamat, getting Skyreach Castle there is a huge boon. I'm just going to flick through the next page. Okay, so you have to dig it out. There are some physical repairs that need to be made. There are magical repairs that they will need to find somebody to help do that. They can try to do a lot of this stuff themselves, but it gets easier if they get allies to help them do this sort of stuff. And most importantly, they must find a crew. Now they could try and get the Yetis to crew it, and there's information about how difficult that is to do in the Yeti section. They can try and get the orcs, they can try and get the giants, the dwarves. So there's a few options in terms of using allies. As I said, just trying to use the player characters to man it isn't going to be enough, because they're probably going to be on the ground rather than in the air when it's finally needed. Skyreach Castle is basically like a flying fortress that just dishes out a whole lot of damage. I sort of describe it more as think of the old flying fortress from World War II. So there's a section on convincing the giants, and this is after all the sections we've just looked at. There's an opportunity to gain their favour. You have to prove to giants that you're worth giving assistance to. So wrestling a giant is an opportunity to any player that's got a really high strength, and you cast a few spells, will give you a few benefits. So like enlarge and reduce will help a little bit. Obviously you want to enlarge, don't reduce. The Spirit Mead is probably the most fun section when they're trying to convince people to get into to pull them in as an ally. The Spirit Mead seems a bit scary, but it will help them fight off the cold when they go off on their journey, because they have to like strip down naked. Sounds crazy? Yes, it is. And they will encounter a whole lot of visions. And while they're out there doing this and doing their vision quest, you might say, it's a bit like a vision quest. One could be with Thrum, the god of ice, or the mother of reindeer. I didn't really quite understand that section. I think I would probably go more with the god of ice rather than the mother of reindeer personally. It's up to you though. Read through those sections, see what you like the most. And on top of that, they will also have to, as part of proving themselves to the giants, one of the tasks is to go and steal a Ramoha's egg. Now, if they've already been to that section on the map, then they may already have an egg. But yeah, another fun thing. As I said, the whole thing is just full of really cool role play and a little splattering of combat. And certainly a fair chunk of skill checks. There's a few skill checks involved. I missed out the snow for fox as well with the Spirit Mead and the Vision Quest, but it's up to you how you play them out. I actually found it all really quite fun. And then it's the final showdown. When they finally do get the castle sorted out, before they fly away, the showdown takes place. This is where the Cult of the Dragon have basically pulled enough forces in that they can really make a significant threat against the party. And it lists like 20 dragon wings, which are all types of cultists, 3 dragon souls, the adult white dragon, Glazhail, can be pulled into this. So if they haven't actually dealt with Glazhail at this point, this is a good opportunity, which is why I didn't have them fighting the white dragon partway through the adventure. I wanted them to face the dragon near the end to make it just more interesting. There are also a whole bunch of warbands, orc warbands, 20 to 30. I think I pumped that up quite a lot. which means you're dealing with like a vast army just running at them. You can also include some frost giants to this warband. This is probably the most difficult section to run, that final showdown in the adventure. Grunag's assault is spared on by the negotiation between the Cult of the Dragon and the chieftain for the orcs called Grunag. And you can roll that out as best you can in terms of breaking it up into waves. I think I used waves. And I tried to throw the really heavy stuff at them first, because by now they are 10th or 11th level, and the chances are they can actually probably deal with this. I know it seems like a frightening aspect. Trust me, they can cope with this showdown. At this point, even though the adventure seems to list so many different enemies to deal with, they won't have too much trouble. They will be able to deal with it. It can be done. I'm going to just flick through to the last page, and once we've done the showdown, there's the tie-up where you, hopefully by now, you have convinced them that they should assist in using Skyreach Castle as part of the final assault on the Well of Dragons. And there's a little conclusion. So either success or failure is going to have impact on the Council of Waterdeep. Now, one of the things I found that was frustrating about the Rise of Tiamat was there were no major setbacks other than you got a strike against you if you didn't have Skyreach Castle. And because it's not included in the original Rise of Tiamat book, this meant my players could go and try and rectify the error that was made in the Horde of the Dragon Queen, because they messed things up, took out the Cloud Giant, the castle crashed, and then they didn't have it as part of their assault machinery. So I actually found this adventure really, really fun. My players enjoyed it. I'm pretty happy that I actually purchased it. I paid about 10 New Zealand dollars, which I don't know is what you would pay in the United States, but right now it's selling for about $3 on the Dungeon Masters Guild. I highly recommend grabbing this thing. It's worth the money, and because it's built more around roleplay, it ties in really well with the Rise of Tiamat. Honestly, that whole adventure is very much a roleplay adventure rather than a combat adventure. It's not the sort of adventure that you run or play just because you think, well, that would be good to do at 10th level and there's giants involved, so we should definitely fight them. It's not like that at all. Okay, so I'm going to just finish up my review here. I will answer a few questions, so don't run away. If you found this review helpful or informative, please share and like the video. If you aren't subscribed and you enjoy this content and you want more things like this, I am happy to do them. Really, really am. I'm perfectly willing to do more. I do videos every single day, so even if you don't subscribe, the chances are you probably see some of my stuff pop up, but I recommend clicking that subscribe button. If you want occasional notifications, there's a bell button underneath the video. Hit that bell button and that will get you a notification. Not all the time, but usually it's occasional. If you have any questions about the Frozen Castle, I'm going to answer those questions in this particular live stream, or if you're not part of the live stream, then I'm going to answer those in the comments. So put your questions in the comments section, I'll answer those questions. If you're still not sold on the idea of going and getting this adventure, I still think it's a great idea. Personally, I enjoyed it. I'd give it like 4.5 stars out of 5. I think it's pretty good. Now, if you want to support my channel, then watch more of my videos. Works well for me. I get a small amount of ad revenue from YouTube or AdSense. If you really want to support my channel, then the best way you can do that is go down in the description, and in the description there's usually an affiliate link and you can buy something online. I get a small commission, you pay exactly the same price. You don't even have to buy the thing that I've linked to on Amazon. You could go through that link and go and buy something else, and I still get the commission and you still pay exactly the same price you would normally pay. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Don't run away, people. I am just going to pull up the chat window so that I can work my way through it. I'm going to put this chat window over this. Should be updating now. Yep, we can see it. I'm just going to move it over here, and I'm just going to make it a little less wide because we don't need to have it quite as wide as that. And I can put it beside there, and I will have a chat. Oh, come back. There we go. And I'll have a chat with you guys about this particular adventure and answer any questions you might have. And I see there's some questions about other stuff, and that's fine too. So, what do we got here? I don't know if Lego, Mathandriel, and Eric are still in the room. Lewis, you're still here. What do you got? I think you can show a few pages here and there, but not the whole thing. Mathandriel, I just showed the entire thing. So if they get upset with me, then I'll have to take the video down. But I did. I showed you everything. Cool Keg Computer. Hey Fred, you still doing the Q&A tomorrow, Saturday in New Zealand? I absolutely will be doing the Q&A on Saturday. That is definitely going to happen. 1 p.m. I'm going to try to do a quick live stream video just announcing it. Mel, you've got here 10:45 Eastern Standard in the United States. Oh, okay, that's PM. All right. And Lewis recommends something or someone. What cool in the world of D&D at the moment? Oh, what would I recommend right now? You know, I wouldn't say that there's anything super cool coming out right now that I would recommend that you go and check out. There's been a lot of stuff put out recently. I think the big selling item has definitely got to be Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's a good book. It's not perfect. It is still probably going to sell more than any other book we've seen come out for some time. I honestly think that it's not a waste of your money, but it might not necessarily give you everything you wanted as a dungeon master. Remember, it is a book that's designed for players and dungeon masters, and it's certainly not perfect. But that would be my recommendation right now, is Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Okay, Eric, you say there's a lot of RP encounters. Do they write extra to help the DM RP the encounter, more on motivations and plans and so forth? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. Each section is very stripped down. They give like a paragraph to each section. Does that mean that you will have to do a bit of homework to actually make it make sense? Yes, you will. You will have to do a little bit of homework, otherwise it won't work out. It is the thing about the Rise of Tiamat is it's stripped down. You do have to do a bit of work for the Rise of Tiamat, and the Frozen Castle suffers from the same thing. It is a stripped down version. It gives you enough information to get started, and then the creators at Kobold Press assume that dungeon masters have a brain and are quite experienced, and so you will have to build in a few things. Something like motivations and plans you should find in the adventure, so you shouldn't have to come up with that sort of stuff. But if you want actual dialogue and descriptive text, there's no dialogue or descriptive text in the adventure whatsoever. It just gives you a breakdown of things, and it's up to you how you describe everything. Hopefully that answered your question, Eric. Mel, I was in a previous live stream of yours where you made your beholder. I finished my ethereal filcher mini. Thanks for the inspiration. You are welcome. I'm glad it pushed you to finish it. I've actually all but finished the beholder. It just needs to be painted. With the weather that it's just too hot and humid in New Zealand for me to paint. So as a result, I can't do that. I would like to, but I can't do it. It'll have to wait till winter when I can get to it a bit easier. If there's any more questions about the Frozen Castle or tomorrow's live stream workshop on Dungeons & Dragons 5e at 1 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time, throw those questions out now. If you've got other questions unrelated to the Frozen Castle, I'm happy to hang around for a little while and answer questions, because this is sort of like the tail end of the video anyway. I'm just going to grab a drink of water because I've been talking for a while. Now this live stream tomorrow is open for players and dungeon masters. I'm going to cover pretty much anything people want to ask. If it's something that I really struggle with, then I probably won't be able to answer those questions, but I certainly will do my best to. Okay, well, I don't see any more comments coming up, so I think we are probably coming to the conclusion of this live stream, and it's time for me to go and have some food. I'm hoping that my Friday night D&D will come back. I think we're going to be starting back today. I won't be live streaming it because I got into so much trouble live streaming it, and there's just too much swearing and bad language and unacceptable topics for it to be monetized. And right now YouTube is really sort of looking for people to produce content that's highly professional and abides by all of their requirements, and there are a whole lot of requirements that you have to do, best practice that you have to follow, otherwise things can get removed from the database, and archives all get classified as unmarketable. What's that, Mel? I'm gonna post a link on your Beholder video so you can see my filter. Love to hear what you think. Yep, do that, absolutely. I'm still working on the Facebook group. We'll get there eventually. I just haven't had time to sort of work on it that much recently. I've been busy doing other things. Okay, alright, so I can see that we've got about 5 people in the room. I think that's about 5 people. What's that, Lois? Same time tomorrow? It's quite the time difference over here in the UK. Probably not, Lois. I apologise for that. It's probably going to be about 4 hours earlier than it is right now. For whatever the time is for you, think 4 hours earlier. It's 5 p.m. in New Zealand on a Friday, and so tomorrow I'll be running the live stream at 1 p.m. on Saturday New Zealand Standard Time. So there's a pretty significant time difference for anybody in the UK. Usually when I'm awake, you guys are sleeping, and there's not an awful lot I can do about that. Otherwise, live streaming to New Zealand is ridiculous because there's hardly anybody awake. Well, not awake, just hardly anybody watching. New Zealand's a very small audience, and therefore what I tend to do is I try to aim for doing my live streams at a time when there's as many people watching as possible. And it's not always going to be like that. Sometimes I will do a late live stream and you'll catch me, but that's my intention, to do it 1 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time in New Zealand on Saturday. If midnight's all right for you, that's good. I kind of feel like it's a bit late for a lot of people, but if you feel like that's cool, that's great. And as I said, I will put up a very short video just to highlight that I'm going to be running that live stream tomorrow. Also, too, I realized that for a lot of people, it's Sunday for them when it's Monday for me. So it's possible I might be able to do some live streaming Q&A on Monday New Zealand Standard Time as well, depending on the demand. Now Monday New Zealand Standard Time at 1 p.m, say about lunchtime for me, if it's possible, I'll try and see how I can manage that. If it's possible, that means it would be probably more like a decent time on a Sunday for everybody else. So you might find that easier to actually watch because you won't be going to work. It won't be like a work night. I think most people find they're not working on a Sunday, but a lot of people are working like Monday right through to Saturday. And I know that can be difficult. Okay, look, we're going to wrap it up there. I think that's pretty much covered everything. Hopefully that gave you all the information you needed to know about this adventure. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow.